Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome to Season 3 of Ozicar Formula Ford. We're on a little Japanese tour this season with the Formula Ford cars that have been so competitive across the first two seasons and really built up a strong group of drivers that want to keep coming back for this. And so we're at Suzuka for the first round of this championship on the full Grand Prix circuit as well, of course. And what a great track it is, beloved by many. And we're going to hit a heap of other Japanese tracks through this season as well here, bringing you all of them live on Simspeed TV. David Haynes with Jason Fewens and Jay Kennedy, our producer. Jason, excited for a new season?
Yeah, it doesn't seem that long ago that we wrapped up season number 2, but we are back again for season number 3. We've got some new names, we've got plenty of fan favourites, and plenty of longevity Aussie car drivers in there here tonight as well. So plenty of new names at the top of the timesheets early on in the season, so they're pretty keen to make their mark and then put their dominance on the opening round. So with 3 race heats tonight, spread over 6 laps each heat, it'll be fast and furious action. There'll be plenty happening from green to checker flag.
Qualifying's about to wrap up, and that sets the grid for race number 1, and then you see a reverse top 6 in race number 2, which will also be 6 laps, and then race number 3. That's the last chance for drivers to try to put their best foot forward here at Suzuka in the opening round. So it will be 3, hopefully, relatively frantic races, but hopefully clean racing too. Formula Fords love to slipstream, and this is a Grand Prix track with some long straights down the pit straight, and then also from Spoon around through to the famous 130R. So plenty of great corners around here, and hopefully a little bit of pack racing too.
Yeah, like you said, slipstreaming around here is going to be really, really important, and it's critical that these drivers keep themselves clean because they want to have a good spot for that starting position for the final heat. So starting grid's up on your screen at the moment. A name that we're familiar with at the top of the timesheet, Stuart Vaughan with a 2 minute 14.7. Adrian Sparks, a newbie, and might be Stuart's teammate, I think, by the looks of things, off P2. James Chaston off Ben Miles off P3 with Tony Baker and Sean Doyle off 5 and 6.
Good looking field for the opening round here as well, with Tim Harris and Kyle Ridley that next row, Jacob Wallmeyer and Nathan Verning the row behind, Dennis Hancock and Warren Henry 11th and 12th, Brody Shepherd, Darren Shannon, Ben Wheeler, Ira Feldberg, John Snell and Matthew Harriott is 18th, Brendan Nealon in 19th. They're just about ready to go, all on the grid here at Suzuka, and you can see the matching Daytona Dudes liveries of your first and second place. Interesting quirk to Suzuka that pole position is the outside line, but it is ahead of second place with that Grand Prix style staggered grid for the standing start. And it looks like both of them have got the same ISP as Jay Kennedy.
So Stuart Vaughan just disappeared off our screen for a moment, but he is back as we are waiting for the lights ready to go green. The revs are already starting to arrive. The Ferris wheel in the background is a spin, and we are away for our opening round opening race of round 3 of the Ozicar Formula Ford.
Season 3 of Ozicar Formula Ford gets underway, and so does Stuart Vaughan with a great launch despite that maybe heart-stopping moment on the grid there. It looked like he might be in trouble. Sarkis going with him well there as well, but Chastanov gets hung out to dry in turn 1, and it looks like Ben Miles might go through on him here to the S's. The tyres are still cold for everyone, and it's so many changes of direction here that challenge the control and stability of your car. Vaughan with his teammate immediately behind for rear gunner. The rest of them a long snake of Formula Fords through the opening sector of Suzuka before it then starts to open up and get a little higher speed through the Dunlop curve here and towards the Degners, where your confidence to ride the curves is absolutely critical. Chastanov is to the inside here and will take that third place back off of Ben Miles. It looks like Tony Baker in 5th got a little loose trying to follow through as well. Tiny bit of camber, got to ride the curb well on the exit there too.
You can see everybody on screen single file. They made their way through the S's on the opening sector of the lap. It's very, very loosey-goosey with the back end of these cars wanting to step out, so you don't want to go 2 by 2 on the opening part of the lap and get yourself offline, because you'll find yourself out of sequence pretty quick. But as we make our way around the back part of the circuit now, the tyres should be just about getting up to almost at operating temperature. It's a long lap round here. 2 minutes 15 was my lap time in practice, so a little bit wide there for Tony Baker, just on the change of direction through the left-hander down the back end of the circuit.
And there's almost a little bit of contact there, so it's Sean Doyle looking to capitalise as he's going to get down the inside of Baker. This is where the slipstreaming really comes in these cars. Baker with nowhere to go, boxed in between the teammates, approaching 130R. He tries to come across to the left lane, and he's got no grip on the rears. It'll go around from him in 130R. Everyone else has to try and avoid. Kyle Ridley, the rest of them all get through and try to keep flat out on lap 1. The rear tyres would not abide that for Tony Baker.
Yeah, a couple of drivers pretty lucky to get through there, because that car was sitting sideways just off the racing line, so lucky he rolled backwards and not forwards as they made their way round through bodies the fastest part of the circuit. But going down the main straight at complete lap number 1, 3 wide if you don't mind.
Tim Harris is going to look to try to slot the gap through into 4th place ahead of Ben Miles and Sean Doyle, and he does it on the pit straight, meet in the sandwich, and goes up a spot. So there is not a single 1 second gap to be found between Tim Harris there in 4th and Darren Shannon back in 14th, but it's the top 3 maybe getting away somewhat. Stuart Vaughan and Adrian Sarkis, of course the teammates working together, not able to shake James Chastanov at the moment as he sits there in 3rd. Tim Harris, very opportune spot in 4th, a long train behind him.
Single file as they make their way around through the sweeper into the heavy braking zone, and they make their way 2 by 2. Sean Doyle there on screen at the moment, just coming into focus. He's got his teammate, new driver into the series, Kyle Ridley, directly behind him as a good wingman at the moment, early on lap number 2. It's a long way to go, although the 6 laps in this race will tick by pretty quick, so you haven't got a lot of time to sit back and wait for an opportunity. You've got to wait, make an opportunity happen.
Tim Harris was under pressure at the hairpin. Now as they head around towards Spoon Curve, he's not going to cover off Ben Miles, who will look to the inside, the 57, for this long left-hander. It kind of like turns 1 and 2. It starts a little open and then tightens a little bit later on, but with the squeeze on the inside, Tim Harris will go around the outside and keep holding on to his position. It's one of the tightest groups of cars in right behind him, and then you've got Wheeler, Hancock and Warren Henry just hanging on the back of this group, with Matthew Harriott in 13th and Darren Shannon in 14th. I met 3 generations of Harriott this weekend.
So Timmy Harris getting hung out to dry as he makes his way through that left-hander, but he's got the outside line, inside line for the chicane, and gives him a good run down onto the straight and retains that position in P4, but under plenty of pressure from the triple threat 3 teammates sitting directly behind him.
Harris trying to cover the inside. They fan out around the outside of him, and wheel-to-wheel contact is made heading towards turn number 1, going around the outside into 4th place. Ben Miles will take it away. Don't think you get any damage out of that, but a short story for a moment. And up ahead, Adrian Sarkis has had a little bit of a bobble, dropped out of the slipstream of his teammate, let James Chastanov swoop through the inside of 130R. So all change, all excitement in the top 5.
So a little bit of sunshine comes out from behind the clouds. 23 degrees out there at the moment. 23 on track. 27 degrees ambient for these drivers. So ideal conditions for these little Formula Fords. They are buzzing around here like a swarm of bees. This one of the very few figure 8 circuits on the iRacing server, so it's quite unique in the aspect that it allows itself to just about have as many left-hand corners as it does right.
It's one of the few figure 8 circuits that doesn't have a jump on iRacing. It's this Oran Park, and I think what's that oval called? Irwindale Speedway. So yeah, I think those are your options. This one a little less demolition derby, hopefully, but so far the racing's been so close wheel to wheel, and I think as we get deeper into the round, some drivers might get a little more daring with their moves. Plenty of moves happening here at Spoon Curve. Tim Harris is so reflective this time.
Yeah, we'll really see the draft benefit or make the way down the longest straight on the circuit. Timmy Harris going on the right-hand side. Ben Miles just pulling back in behind to slip in front of his teammate as they make their way through 130R before heavy onto the brakes.
See a big stop and pit entry that's not going to be needed. Whoa, Tim Harris is around at the Casio Triangle or chicane, or however you want to talk about it. I think he's gotten it going, maybe. Mind the rejoin as well.
Yeah, I think frustration getting the better of him there as he pulls back on track, smack bang in front of Darren Shannon, trying to make his way out of the chicane.
Okay, well that was a moment to start with, and then pressure on him into the chicane, locks one up, goes deep, goes wide as well. Chestnut's been sent back to third. Adrian Sarkis has gotten back into second place, but they're now, as you can see on the timing column left of screen, more than 2 seconds behind Stuart Vaughan, getting away with the race lead at this one at the moment as second and third battle, but not enough to fall back into the grips, because we've seen even more battling and drama out of fourth place, where it's currently Ben Miles ahead of Sean Doyle and Kyle Ridley. See Benjamin Wheeler and Jacob Wallmeyer just behind. Wheeler, I think it is, goes wide at the second Degner.
So behind these three teammates, there's a little bit of action on with Jacob Wallmeyer and Ben Wheeler going side by side. Wallmeyer getting the better run on the outside line, and Ben Wheeler having to fall back into line. So no change of position back there, fighting just as hard as anyone else on track at the moment. Now we're halfway through lap number 4. You can still see these cars skating around on the surface, so very, very loose out there at the moment. Very easy to lose the back end on these cars during the change of direction. Brody Shepherd on your screen at the moment. He's in a good little battle currently as they make their way underneath the Panasonic bridge. Got the slipstream benefit as he pulls out of the slipstream to try and get the pass done. And that's move completed on Matthew Harriott.
130R has been a big challenge so far, and someone else, it might have been Kyle Ridley, went for a bit of a spin a bit further up the field as well. So that was some of the smoke in the air at that part of the lap. And Miles, in fact. So just in front of Kyle Ridley was Ben Miles. He gets out wide, gets on the painted concrete, gets on the curb, and he goes for a very, very smooth 360 and loses 1 or 2 spots from that.
Really, really good car control. We've got a car off in the dirt. That's Matthew Harriott. Just he was on our screen just before that replay and has dropped back a number of positions there. Maybe out braking himself into turn 1 at the completion of lap number 4. Sean Doyle, P4 at the moment. He was leading this little group of train of 3 with his teammates, and what was a battle of 3 is now back to 2.
Yeah, they hook a little bit of that camber in the second Degner to then carry them up towards the hairpin corner here. long way to go to where you see second and third. Doesn't seem like they're gonna catch them on lap 5 now of 6. Sarkis and Chastanov have not. They've passed each other a couple times, but neither of them seem super game to go wheel to wheel through too many corners, cost too much time. They're looking to just stay inside of this top 6 at the moment in this first race, knowing that there's 3 races. They all count for points, and then we've got 5 more rounds after here at Suzuka as well. So they just kick it all off in the podium. A good start. Sarkis also has the fastest lap of the race at the moment.
Through 130R for the second to last time, James Chastanoff tucked underneath the rear gearbox and tailpipe of the 1 Ford Daytona Dude's liveried car. A little bit of a check up through the chicane, but they make it through without too much drama. It's Darren Shannon in the 275, got his racing number back this season with those red wheels. Sitting a little bit further back in P13 at the moment, but he is trying to use the best draft opportunity from Brodie Shepherd as they make their way down to potentially get the white flag for the last lap.
Yeah, they are starting the final lap, and on that final lap, you can see that they just seem to keep getting grip and confidence as the tyres build in, because Ben Miles has gone for the fastest lap of the races. He's tried to slipstream past some drivers, but still finds himself not able to pass Benjamin Wheeler in turn 1 on this lap, and now into the S's, really making many, if any, passes through here. You're waiting till a bit deeper in the lap. Dramas then for Darren Shannon, and the smoke certainly lingers and hangs in the air when the drivers go for a slide or a spin. It leaves a little bit of a trail of evidence for a minute or two.
So Chastanoff sitting in a pretty good position here, tucked underneath the back of Adrian Sarkis. He's going to get that slipstream benefit down that back straight here on the last lap. So I can't imagine he's going to try and push too hard through this sector of the track, because he'll want to be as close as he can in that last sector leading into the checkered flag. He knows he's not going to catch first, but he could get a second out of this if he plays his cards right.
Action here around Warren Henry with Tony Baker easy to spot, red and yellow. Brodie Shepherd behind, so down the inside goes Warren Henry, really crowds out Tony Baker on the outside. Brodie Shepherd goes ahead of him. Puts Baker to the back of this little group. Second and third battling towards 130R. Sarkis behind, but with a look to the inside at 130R, just touching the slippery green concrete, but keeping the nose ahead of the tail. James Chastanoff then has the inside here on the final lap through the chicane. Stuart Vaughan from his pole position. It's going so well for him this season to kick it all off with a win. Stuart Vaughan wins race number 1. Chastanoff, though, will get second with Sarkis in third. Teammates Sean Doyle and Kyle Ridley back there, and battling group of Henry, Baker, etc., all working their way through the chicane as well on this final lap. Battles all the way down at 18th in this field.
Yeah, Tony Baker putting it all on the line there, going through the chicane and having a little bit of a check up there, but Warren Henry getting the better of him on the final lap as they cross the checkered flag and cross the finish line. But Jacob Wallmeyer on, I was going to say on screen, but it wasn't him. That's actually Adrian Sarkis, our third place getter tonight. So one of the very scenic views here at Suzuka. And our results after race 1.
Stuart Vaughan with that win from James Chastanoff, Adrian Sarkis, Sean Doyle, Carl Ridley, and Jacob Wallmeyer. You take that top 6 and you invert them, and that does give Jacob Wallmeyer the pole position for race number 2 that they're gritting up for right now. Ben Miles, Ben Wheeler, Dennis Hancock, and Brodie Shepherd, the rest of that top 10, and then Warren Henry, Tony Baker, Tim Harris, Ira Felberg, Matthew Harriott, Darren Shannon, Brendan Nealon, Darren Lesueur, John Snell, and Nathan Verney. Gosh, a couple drivers just in this back 10 that could move forward, like Warren Henry, like Tony Baker. We'll see what they can do. 15 seconds, potentially less, away from getting another 6-lap race underway. They're going to rev up now. They're waiting on the lights to go out. Downhill run towards turn number 1, but the tyres will all be cold again. The drivers will have to be so careful this race number 2. Second and third, light it up with a little bit of wheel spin. Warmeyer looks like he gets away slowly initially, but with less wheel spin, hopefully he's looking to cover off Kyle Ridley, who's looking for the inside at 1. Ridley backs out of it a little bit, not backing out of anything at all. James Chastanoff trying to gain some positions around the outside of 1 and 2. These cars look so on the nose and so twitchy on this race start. They got to be careful as they race side by side into the S's through turns 2 and 3. Super close quarters racing, and the Vermilion cars look like they just stay ahead.
Yeah, Jacob Warmeyer getting swallowed up there by those Vermilion teammates there on the opening part of this lap. But Adrian Sarkis up to P4 as well, so he got a really good start off the third row of the grid. So making a couple of positions on the opening couple of corners. Said it was probably towards the back end of the first lap before these tyres really got up to temperature. We saw a little bit more confidence in the opening race. The drivers will have to keep that in mind as they make their way down to the hairpin for the first time here in race number 2, lap number 1. Matthew Harriott on board now with the flight level 360 vehicle.
Yeah, so he's up in the 13th place at the moment there as we rode on board with him. It's the 444 of Jacob Warmeyer looking for some spots side by side with some overlap here with Sean Doyle in second, heading towards Spoon. It seems like around the outside of the first bit garnered a lot of grip, but is there grip if you go out that far for Stuart Vaughan? He carried a bit of speed out there with his teammate to one side, with James Chastanoff just in front. The 3 that stood on the podium are still 4th, 5th and 6th, no positions gained just yet. Teammates wheel to wheel heading towards 130R. Sean Doyle thinking about looking to the inside of 130R there as he backs out. Jacob Warmeyer also thinks about it. He almost touched back in 5th and 6th between Vaughan and Sarkis. Looks like Doyle runs off the road on the exit there, has to back out, and it gets close just behind on the way into the chicane as well. So close after 1 lap completed of 6.
Yeah, Matthew Harriott there, he was part of that big pile of smoke you saw in the background. I think Tim Harris and Tony Baker also getting caught up in that, as you can see them make their way back to the pits as the leaders go past to complete lap number 1. Jacob Warmeyer still battling for a position there, trying to get back what he lost on the opening lap. He makes his way back up into P2. Sean Doyle there falling back to 3rd, but he's not going to just roll over and hand it over. He's going to fight for it while Chastanoff sticks his nose down the inside and looks for an opportunity as well.
You'd love to see this in your mirrors when you're Kyle Ridley, half a second lead at the moment over Warmeyer, who has gotten up into 2nd. Chastanoff now looking like he can get 3rd place around the outside of Dunlop, backs out, looks to go maybe over-under, pass towards the Degners mayhaps, and you've still got Vaughan and Sarkis 5th and 6th just watching, waiting for a way to try to move forward if they can. So 1st, 2nd and 3rd and 4th side by side through the Degners here could end in tears. Chasty going around the outside, doing it successfully, but that's Adrian Sarkis spinning out, and other cars have collected themselves as they try to avoid it. It's carnage at the 2nd Degner.
Looks like, is that Darren Shannon pulling off in the left-hand side of the circuit? Tony Baker making his way back out of the pits as well to rejoin the race after getting some repairs done.
So a handful of cars coming to grief there, and Kyle Ridley gets away with the race lead over Jacob Warmeyer. Warmeyer has a massive slide on the way into the spoon curve here, and it seems like that puts a bit of heat through the tyres and they remain slippery. And he'll get caught then by James Chastanoff, who gets a better run onto the back straight here, trying to bridge that gap, bringing Stuart Vaughan, Sean Doyle and Ben Wheeler as your top 6 at the moment before you have a little gap to Ben Miles in 7th. Taking a look at everything that unfolded at the 2nd Degner. Sarkis gets tapped from behind. He stands on the brakes and one car tags him, and then another spins out, and then I think Hancock gets tagged and Henry's there, and a lot going on from that initial little bit of contact with the concertina into Degner 2.
Yeah, there'll be a lot to unravel for the stewards. They'll look at that after the race and see how it all unfolded exactly. But we jump on board looking over the top of Sean Doyle, currently sitting in P5. So he's down 2 positions from where he started in race number 2, but still within touch of the leaders, sitting in the draft of race 1 winner Stuart Vaughan at the moment.
Leads closed up a tiny bit here as well, with Wallmeyer just a little bit closer to Ridley. Chastano still trying to stay close with them, and you can see all of that unfolding from the roll hoop camera here of 5th place Sean Doyle.
So we've only got 4 gears in these little Formula Fords, so there's not a lot to choose from. They make their way down the back straight. Your thing is revving its ear off as they make their way into 130R. So as they make their way down into the hairpin, this is the first gear corner for the cars as they drop off the speed and back down through the gearbox. Very, very twitchy in the back end as you see Chastanoff just up the road a little bit, getting a little bit squirrely on the exit, but manages to pull it back into gear.
Here we go, good speeds from these Formula Fords as well. I'm seeing sort of at 130R, almost 220 kilometers an hour. So they're moving along at that point of the track, relatively light, relatively small, well, quite low and small as well. This is how Jacob Wallmeyer got past, though, going around the outside of this sweeping section to get the inside of 130R. So he now leads. It's closed up the leading pack somewhat as well. Good little move there. Now leads them through 130R, where Kyle Ridley still sits behind, but Chastanoff, Vaughan and Doyle have all gotten that much closer. In fact, they're almost getting too close on the brakes there.
Yeah, a bit of a concertina effect as they all hit the skids into the chicane to complete lap number 3. Looking a little bit further back down the field, this is Darren Lachou. He's up 7 positions from where he started in race number 2, so a really good couple of opening laps for him. He's got the good company of car 55 Brody Shepherd underneath in his mirrors, so Brody dropping a couple of positions as well.
Looks I've got the Wario helmet. Got a couple of interesting helmets here. There's the move at 130R. This is live pictures. Chastanoff side by side with Stuart Vaughan, the drivers who could be battling for this championship in Season 3. And Vaughan gets the upper hand with a tiny bit of a contact there. Has the upper hand already at this point with the race 1 win. Chastanoff trying to figure out how he could maybe pass Vaughan. Vaughan, having started 6th, has moved up into 3rd. Still not able to get up to Wallmeyer and Ridley, who have swapped once again in 1st and 2nd.
Pulling a little bit of a gap too. That gap between 2nd and 3rd now out to about 7/10 of a second. So they were right nose to tail as they made their way through the chicane to start this lap. And Jacob Wallmeyer and Kyle Ridley there potentially working together now to pull a little bit of a gap on Stuart Vaughan behind, who holds the fastest lap of the race.
Well, that's a delicate little flick spin for Ira Felberg at the 2nd segment, just before you go underneath the bridge. And this is the race lead. Ridley now looking to the inside. No nose ahead, but with the inside line, Wallmeyer more speed around the outside. It's a bit off camber in this section, so it's deceptive where the quickest line is. They're still absolutely side by side for the race lead, with Stuart Vaughan thinking, can I make it 3 wide? And Vaughan's going to try, but the window closes up. Chastanoff around the outside closing in as well. 2 wide, 2 deep for the race lead at the halfway point here. And Kyle Ridley goes through to the lead. Wallmeyer still holding on to his 2nd there. Vaughan not able to make any progress. And in fact, Sean Doyle might get ahead of Chastanoff here as he looks to go round the outside. Gets the inside for the left-hander. And Doyle up into 4th and now back out of it into 5th.
Yeah, Doyle read that like a book. He was just sitting patiently there while they went through 2x2 at 130R. Had the really good run and got that move done on Chastanoff into the chicane. Looks like a little bit of wheel contact into turn 1.
Vaughan gets down the inside of 1 after that little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. He's past Wallmeyer. He's trying to get past Ridley. Ridley runs out of grip on the outside of 2, and Vaughan, after 4 laps, is back to the race lead.
A five-way battle for the lead at the moment, jumping on board with James Chastanoff, and we can see contact there from the front of his car, making rear contact with Sean Doyle, who manages to continue without issue, but Chastanoff having a bit of a spin, cloud of smoke, and losing positions in the process.
Just as we went on board, a tiniest bit of contact through the middle of the long-loaded corner sends him into a slide, and it looks like he's recovered in 6th place, just ahead of Ben Miles, but it's dropped him out of the battle for the lead. That's now just 4 cars. Stuart Vaughan leading Kyle Ridley. Wallmeyer looking to go the high line with a little more banking. Cut back for later apex, carry some speed. And Doyle there in 4th at the moment, taking another look from off-board. The line's half open. Chastanoff looks to the inside right as Wallmeyer is closing down to the late apex that he really wanted. Here's Wallmeyer down the inside of Spoon on Ridley. Ridley runs out of grip, has a massive slide, catches it once, catches it twice, loses all his momentum and drops to the back of the train.
So almost a carbon copy of what happened one lap ago, except roles were reversed. And in that case there, Wallmeyer had the better run on the outside, but Ridley there not able to maintain that grip and that mid-corner speed. So a little bit loose in the back end, loses a little bit of ground time on track, but no positions lost at this stage. White flag at this time by, so you will be running out of laps to try and catch the back of these guys. He'll be hoping they get into a bit of a last lap battle here in race number 2 to give himself a chance of a podium finish.
Starting the final lap of race number 2, you can see how much Stuart Vaughan thinks he's going to need to work to hold on to this race lead. One way, then the other, then the other. Wallmeyer and Doyle following him every single step of the way on this final lap. Sean Doyle picking up the fastest lap of the race at this point, just a fraction quicker than what Vaughan was capable of. Vaughan's only got a couple car lengths over them, and he's going to need to pull out a little bit more than that through the S's here. His slipstream towards Spoon, and then from Spoon to 130R is probably the strongest of anywhere, the longest continuous full throttle sections of the racetrack.
Yeah, change of direction through the sequence of left-right there in the opening part of this lap. Really, really good flowing and really important for these cars to maintain that mid-corner speed during the change of direction. But they make their way down underneath the bridge for the final time here in race number 2. Stuart Vaughan looks like he's got things under control at this stage, but the last thing we want to do is put the commentator's curse on him too early. So Jacob Wallmeyer P2, Sean Doyle, our fastest lap setter, sitting in at P3 at the moment. Then there's a good gap back to Kyle Ridley. So no threat for the podium at this stage. It's just a matter of these boys bringing it home. But a bit further back in the field, this is Chastanoff, Duke, and Ben Miles and Ben Wheeler. My apologies.
So a 3-way fight for the win, a 3-way fight here for 5th place. Chastanoff in front for the moment, going to be difficult to defend, and the same is true for Stuart Vaughan, who's only got 1 car length of lead in his pocket as they head down towards 130R. He knows Wallmeyer and Doyle will probably have a look at him if he can, so they stay middle of the road. Vaughan just making it tough for Wallmeyer to get down the inside, but Wallmeyer will take the inside at 130R, drift across, then be able to cover the inside for the final corner. Does Sean Doyle smell a car width to get in there? He doesn't. Vaughan breaks in so late around the outside, barely stays on the pavement. Now looking to cross back, over under, good exit out of the chicane. Wallmeyer's got momentum, he's got speed, but he's forced to go around the long way of the final corner. That checkered flag comes up quick, so Vaughan wins by a margin of 0.05 of a second. Your whole podium covered by just 1/10. Ridley in 4th, Chastanoff in 5th, just holding off Ben Wheeler and Ben Miles.
But action aplenty for the inside the top 10, but looking a little bit further down the field, this might be Tony Baker, I think, in the Brendan Nielsen in the pulse tuning at Shuka Toyota, up 5 positions. So he started pretty deep after a not so gracious performance in race number 1, but making up good positions in race number 2. Adrian Sarkis here, you can see on screen, down 10 positions after he had that spin early on in the race. So race number 3 very shortly will be a big redemption race for him. We know he's got the speed, he's got the pace, just got to have a little bit of luck to go with it.
And all those drivers that we saw entangled in mess at the second Degner either on the opening lap or lap 2, whenever that took place, they've ended up about half a lap down or maybe a little bit more, and those are the drivers we're waiting on to complete this race, and they are Tony Baker and Dennis Hancock, Warren Henry, Matthew Harriet, and some of those others. So you can see Tony Baker, so much pace in race number 1, and it didn't end how he wanted. A lot of pace again in race number 2, and it also didn't end well. Dennis Hancock in 16th coming across the line. I think the last one we're waiting for is going to be Matt Harriet.
So he makes his way out of the chicane for the final time. Barney will be greeted, or he will be greeted by Barney with the checkered flag to conclude at race number 2, hard on the skids, and he will be looking to reset and come back strong in race number 3.
Results then from race number 2, Stuart Vaughan taking the win again, but look at how small those margins are, covering the whole top 3. Great battle there. Jacob Wallmeyer in 2nd and Sean Doyle 3rd. Kyle Ridley, James Chastanoff trying to recover for as many points as he can in this opening round. They're in 5th ahead of Ben Wheeler 6th. Ben Miles, Nathan Verney, Darren Lasue and Brody Shepherd as the top 10. And then it was John Snell, Brendan Neal and Ira Felberg, Adrian Sarkis, Tony Baker, Dennis Hancock, Warren Henry, Matt Harriet, the last driver on the lead lap, as we said. And retirements there, Darren Shannon and Tim Harris. Couple of minutes before race 3 starts, the drivers get a chance to catch their breath. We get to have another look at what's coming in season 3. So it starts here, Suzuka Circuit, and then in 2 weeks' time, Okayama on the full course, and Fuji no chicane. That's interesting. There's a little bit of a jump when you take one of those corners in the no chicane rather than the hairpin variation. Tsukuba, love that track. Very short, a little technical, but great for this kind of speed and size of car. Motegi on the Grand Prix course, and Okayama on the short course for its 2nd appearance in this calendar. Of course, you've got to note, Fuji will be in the Skip Barber, not the Formula Ford, as it's Aussie car retro heritage round. That one will be very, very exciting. You'll see all of that here on Simspeed TV. And then, as we start season 3, looking back at season 2, John Merritt is reigning champion, but not present here today. Stuart Vaughan was 2nd, and so if he's hungry for one better, he's started as well as he possibly can so far in season 3. Tim Harris, James Chastanoff, Sean Doyle, Brody Shepherd, Nathan Verney, Jacob Wallmeyer, Ben Wheeler, and Tony Baker were your top 10. And Ozicar this season supported once again by the same groups. We've got Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, the Locked On Lads podcast, and the No Social Hate campaign. We'll take a tiny break here on SimSpeed TV, and in just 2 minutes or so, we're back for race number 3 from Suzuka. and welcome back to Suzuka Circuit on Simspeed TV for this opening round, Season 3 of the Ozicar Formula Ford Series. They're gridding up for the final 6-lap race of the night. Stuart Vaughan from Jacob Wallmeyer, Sean Doyle, Kyle Ridley, James Chastanoff and Ben Wheeler as our top 6. It's exactly as they just finished race number 2. It's Ben Miles, Nathan Verney, Darren Lasue, Brodie Shepherd, John Snell, Brendan Neelan to 12th. Of the 20 drivers, we've still got at least 19 of them with RF Elberg, Adrian Sarkis, Tony Baker, Dennis Hancock, Warren Henry, Matt Harriott, and Darren Shannon. Maybe we don't have Tim Harris, but we'll see if he grids and gets underway in this one. David Haynes here with Jason Fewens, Jay Kennedy producing. Lights about to go out for the final race of the night at Suzuka in Ozicar Formula Ford. Vaughan on the pole position where he started race 1, where he qualified. He's got a hold off Wallmeyer, he's got a hold off Doyle and others, and not a great jump at all from Wallmeyer. Clutch drop not working out at all. He's getting swamped by Doyle, by Ridley. James Chastanoff looking to make some spots up as well. 4 wide in the background here, and they're all on cold tyres once again.
Yeah, a bit of cloud cover, so some temperatures come out of the track in between race 2 and 3. But looks like these drivers will probably have things under control in the opening part of the circuit. They've done enough starts here tonight, being race number 3, to know exactly what to expect out of these tyres on the opening part of the lap. So they'll make their way through the S's for the first time, very iconic part of the circuit, this through the switchback left-right sequence of quarters. Before they make their way through the back of the pit area and head off on their circuit of the lap.
This is where the danger happened in the last race, and there might be some again. There will almost be some again. That looked like it was going to be a massive accident. But Ben Wheeler got it back on the track somehow, facing the right way. Bit of a check-up through all of that. Biggest movers so far on this lap. Tony Baker's made a bunch of positions up into 10th, and you can see him just behind this group. Ben Miles in 7th with Nathan Verney, Brodie Shepherd in 9th.
We focus on Ben Miles making his way through at the moment. He's got a little bit of pressure with Nathan Verney tucked in behind him, looking for the pass on the outside. It's going to have to be a pretty game to make that stick. Although there isn't a slowdown out there at the moment like there used to be, so the latest updates allowed for a little bit more forgiving off-track excursions around this circuit.
Covering the inside towards 130R. Is that enough? If the other driver's just a little bit ahead of you, I think they can get around the outside here, and that's what's going to happen. Nathan Verney, boy, he runs it off the track. A few of them do. Dennis Hancock gets wheel clipped, and he ends up halfway in the air, and someone else is going to end up in the wall. Who's dropping back? Is it Darren Lasue? No, it is John Snell.
And it might be Ira Felberg. No, Warren Henry in the background having a spin. No, Ira Felberg. Looks like sparks coming off the front of John Snell's car there as well. So his suspension is a cactus here on the opening lap.
Indeed, so this is the leaders. Vaughan from Doyle, from Ridley, from James Chastanoff. Looks like it's 4 drivers out front at the moment. Unless Wallmeyer or Wheeler can really bang in some quick laps to try to catch them. Having started in 2nd, Wallmeyer's now back into 5th. So that opening lap was not so great for him. Concertina effect through the right hand of theirs, and then dip and then come back up through Dunlop. Hancock, did he maybe pick up some damage from that wheel-to-wheel contact earlier that was pretty full on?
Almost looks like night time as the clouds cover the sun, and the track temperature drops here on lap number 2 of the feature race, 3rd final race here this evening on Simspeed TV for the opening round of the Ozicar Asia Pacific Series. Chastanoff sitting at the back of this group at the moment in P4. We'll have a look at an Ozicar.net replay, and this is a little bit of contact we spoke about on the end of the opening lap.
Yeah, the wheel-to-wheel contact, and it launched Dennis Hancock partly airborne. Like thusly. Didn't look good for your back.
pretty rigid suspension in these things, so you feel it through every bone in your body if you have some contact.
Chastanov's in third, Kyle Ridley sitting directly behind him in fourth here, going over the bridge and then into 130R. Sean Doyle right on Stuart Vaughan up front here as well, and I think I spot Jacob Warmeyer giving it everything to try to catch the leaders, but not being able to catch the leaders. Nathan Verney has ended up in the wall outside of 130R. Some other cars ran through the runoff as well. Definitely an action zone so far. As Doyle homing in on the race lead. No defense offered this early in the race from Stuart Vaughan. So Doyle goes through the lead of the race. James Chastanov takes the fastest lap of the race in third, towing Kyle Ridley back to the race leaders.
Yeah, so Chastanov's losing a bit of time on that lap through challenging for the position, but also managing to get the fastest lap of the race in the process. So Sean Doyle making his way, leading this pack at the moment. His focus will be on what's happening in front of him as opposed to behind. But Brady Shepherd having a little bit of trouble out of turn number one as he emerges from the brake dust and the cloud of smoke that he created during that spin.
Oh, driver in front of him has a wiggle, and he has a bigger one. Out of sympathy, it seems, almost. So Wallmeyer, I think, might catch this top four. Looking at the top four, and Wallmeyer there just now in touch of the slipstream to make it a five-way fight. And Wheeler Ben Miles that dropped back off this group. Still Sean Doyle leading him from the moment. Look at how close those other drivers are.
You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your screen. That makes it Jacob Wallmeyer at the back of that pack. Then it's a little gap back to Ben Wheeler, Ben Miles. And Adrian Sarkis sitting in P number 8. He's up 6 positions along with Tony Baker. So a couple of movers and shakers in this opening lap. Also got Matthew Harriott and Darren Shannon up 7 positions as well. So the benefit of keeping your nose clean. The guys there reaping some rewards and points wise.
See the speed for Ridley already past 200 kilometers an hour. He's in great position to get a really good slipstream here, almost 220, as he then tries to follow the organic racing line, carry more speed down towards the chicane, looking to the inside on Chastanov, but backing out of it a little earlier just to keep the nose intact. Might be a tiny bit of contact from the drivers in front though, and that lets Chastanov get down the inside here for second place on Sean Doyle. Seeing a little more defense now, hitting the halfway point of the race for leading Stuart Vaughan.
New fastest lap of the race also for Kyle Ridley, so he takes the honours with a 2:14.998. Just see Sean Doyle getting a little bit loose coming out of the chicane. That allowed Chastanov to get the run down the main straight and take P2 away from Doyle.
Great fight here for the last race of the round, kicking off Season 3 of Ozicar Formula Ford. Vaughan, well, he's bagged some great wins so far, but you can see just how close the drivers behind are, and now Chastanov's made his way to second. That might be the driver that can threaten the race lead for Vaughan in the back half of this race.
Yeah, well, Jacob Wallmeyer there in the distinctive blue livery as well. He's right on the back of this pack now, so he's put his head down and made great gains on this last lap and a half to join the battle for the lead. But a bit further back, this is Ben Wheeler, Ben Miles battling over position 6 and 7 as we have a look at car number 16, Matty Harriott, rejoining after a bit of a spin underneath the bridge.
Yeah, that's cost him somewhat. He's 4th and 5th, with Doyle now having to fend off Wallmeyer, who's still 5th but has caught the pack, has to catch a slide too. Doyle, who was leading not so long ago, now back there in 4th behind his teammate Kyle Ridley, behind James Chastanov, and Stuart Vaughan out front for the minute. So Ben's behind them 6th and 7th with Wheeler and Miles, who change places at 130R. Miles getting ahead of Wheeler. It's around the outside here. outbreaks, takes the spot. Adrian Sarkis catches them. Now the 8th place driver honing in on this as well. Woolmeyer's had a mistake and dropped away from the top 4 a little bit, where Vaughan goes 1 car width to the inside, try to defend his position from Chastanov, who has the fastest lap of the race.
So 2 to go. So top 5 at the moment, well and truly making a bit of a break and putting their stamp on this race, but any one of those 5 could still walk away with a podium position. So a bit further back, still a 3-way battle for position 6, 7 and 8. Adrian Sarkis, he's up 6 positions from where he started as well. So a little bit of carnage in race number 2. Saw him drop back down the field, and he is making up ground here in the feature race tonight. Doing his best to try and get around the outside of Ben Wheeler. Manages to do so with a little bit of momentum.
Great move around the outside. Takes a spot. Goes to 7th now. This group still 5 seconds away from the leading group of 5, where Woolmeyer is only just hanging on to a group of 4. Pick a driver from this top 4, top 5. You think Stuart Vaughan can hold on to try to sweep Suzuka?
If you're a betting man, you'd put your money on Stuart Vaughan for the odds, but I think I'm going to go for a fan favourite, Sean Doyle, to come back from P4 to come back and win this.
Okay, interesting. See, and I always say it, when you've got a pack like this, it is still anyone from the leading pack's game. It could be anyone. It becomes a bit of a roll of the dice when they go wheel to wheel, when they get braver on the final lap, because you're always a little bit braver on the last lap than you are in the middle. About to start that last lap. Dramas for Darren Shannon there in the 275, but the leaders are coming out of that final corner. Downhill, picking up massive speed towards super committed turn 1. Vaughan is super committed to defending the inside line. He's not going to let Chastanov or anyone get to the inside of him for turns 1 and 2 here. But Chastanov is level with him, carrying speed, but not gutsy to try to pull it off this early on the final lap.
Still a long way to go, and quite a few passing opportunities around this circuit. And of course, you want to have that draft benefit, as we saw in the opening race along that long sweeping back straight. So a few mind games happening here, just moving around in mirrors, trying to create a bit of a mistake from the driver in front, applying a little bit of pressure. Woolmeyer dropping back away from these 4 at the moment, so his best chance for a podium is if there is contact with the group up in front.
Gee, I get the feeling a lot of them are thinking exit of Spoon, run down 130R, because Ridley had a good run at Chastanov, decided not to take it. Chastanov had a good run at Stuart Vaughan into turn 1 and decided not to take it. They've seen where the best overtaking opportunity is after all of these laps in all of these races. They just want to be within 1 car length, coming off that wide sweeping hairpin that they're approaching at the far end of the lap here. Doyle in 4th, still within 1 second of the lead, so we could have 4 cars cross the line all within 1 second to close it out at Suzuka. Spoon, Vaughan gets plenty of apex curb, keeps it narrow and tight all the way through, which might give the other drivers a good run down the hill at him. Chastanov closing up, 2 tenths back, 1.5 tenths back, 1 tenth back. Vaughan holds the inside, they fan out 3 wide. Vaughan tries to close the door on Chastanov, who has to close the door on Ridley, who has to roll out of it. Nose in front, around the outside of 130R. Chastanov goes to the race lead. Vaughan sandwiched between Vermilion Motorsport cars. Chastanov just trying to defend a good line into the chicane here, and they almost touch behind. It's Doyle trying to go through for second. He can't. James Chastanov will take race number 3 from Stuart Vaughan, from Ridley, from Sean Doyle.
And Jacob Woolmeyer doing a pretty good job there to secure 5th place as well. A little bit further back, Ben Wheeler and it might be Tony Baker there having a bit of a battle. And Warren Henry and Matthew Harry on screen making their way through the chicane to round out the top 10 at the moment. This still isn't over. But a little bit of curb hopping there from Matthew Harriott just washes off a little bit of speed, and I think Warren Henry's going to get that short run to the line without too many issues. Ira Felberg, Darren Shannon in at 12th and 13th, so another good little battle there right down to the drop of the flag.
Darren Lesueur, Brendan Nealon, John Snell and Nathan Verney as well, just to round out this third race. Pardon me. So let's look at the results here from race 3 of 3, kicking off the season 3 of Ozicar Formula Ford. James Chastanoff, Stuart Vaughan, Kyle Ridley, Sean Doyle, Jacob Wallmeyer, Ben Miles, Tony Baker, Ben Wheeler, Brodie Shepherd, Adrian Sarkis as our top 10. And the driver with the most positions gained in this one was Tony Baker, from 15th on the grid to that 7th place. Warren Henry from Matt Harriott, Ira Felberg, Darren Shannon, Dennis Hancock, Darren Lesueur, Brendan Nealon, and Nathan Verney, John Snell and 19, as we unfortunately didn't see Tim Harris later on. And that is a very, very exciting and tantalising way to start this new season of Ozicar Formula 4. Lots more exciting Japanese tracks to come. Some of them may be a little smaller or more technical, but all of them hopefully just as exciting. Thank you to the Aussie car partners, Sim Racing Leagues, Locked On Lads, Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, and the No Social Hate campaign. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the next round. Thank you, Jason Fewens, for joining me, David Haynes, with producer Jay Kennedy here on Simspeed TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.